Hello everyone and thank you for watching. We continue with the section 2 of this paper, top joint examinations. So question 17 is on three-dimensional geometry. The diagram shows a model of swimming pool A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H as shown below. The measurements are given: AB 50 centimeters, BC 80 centimeters, CH 40 centimeters, and BG is equals to 20 centimeters. So the diagram is them. The first question: calculate correct two decimal places the length FE, that is 1, 2 marks, FE. So where is FE? You can see where FE is. So there we have FE. So how do we get that length? Looking at what we have here, if we are able to draw a straight line, from F all the way to that point, you notice me draw it again. So if we're able to draw that line there, and that is 20 centimeters. So also this height here is 20 centimeters. And see, since the whole of this height is 40, it is the same with this one. And this one is 20. So this one means this will be 20 as well. And this will be 90 degrees. So this one 20 centimeters. So you can see now we have a right angle triangle. Then this length here, F to that point, is the same with this length that is 80. So this length there will be 80. That will be 80 centimeters. So you can see now we have a right angle triangle, and we'll be able to use a Pythagoras theorem to get FE. FE is the hypotenuse. So therefore FE using Pythagoras theorem will be given by the square root of 80 squared plus 20 squared. And this one, when you use your calculator, you'll get this one correct two decimal places. You'll get 82.46 centimeters. That is the part 1. We go to part 2, the length AC. So we identify where is AC. So AC is this length there. We'll have to draw it. So AC is that length. And that one will be quite easy to get because we have this base, or these angles are 90 degrees here. So this angle here, this is 90 degrees. And we are going to use this triangle ABC, that triangle. You can see AC will be the hypotenuse as well. So AC is the hypotenuse when you consider this triangle that you can see here. So AC will be given by the square root of 50 squared plus 80 squared. And this one gives correct two decimal places. You get 94.34 centimeters. We go to part B. Determine the angle made between plane FGHE and ABCD. That is the angle between two planes, FGHE. You can see that plane. And the base is AB. So when you look at those two planes, they are not intersecting at any point. There is no line of intersection of those two planes. So FGHE and ABCD, they are not intersecting. So you have to translate one plane. And the plane that you're going to translate will be plane ABCD. So we translate plane ABCD so that it touches the other plane FGHE, and it is going to touch that at the line FG. So this is what I mean. So allow me to rub something here. Let me rub so that I can translate that. So let me translate it so that when you translate it, you'll have something like this. You will have something like this when you translate it. So now you can see. So this plane ABCD, I've translated it here on the other plane. So I've translated that plane to get F. I will name these. Let me name this one as M, and this one I can name it as Q. So I've translated it to get FGMQ. So that is what I've done. So when you look at now the angle, when you look at the angle that we have, the one that we require is this particular angle. Now the line of intersection of the two planes will be FG. After you translate the base ABCD so that it meets or intersects with the other plane FGHE. So this is the line of intersection, and this is the angle here. So that is the angle that we need. And how do we get that angle? You consider this triangle here. So you have this triangle GHQH. So we have this triangle with the measurement 80 centimeters, and then this is 20 centimeters. So you can use trig ratios to get that angle. So that is the required angle. So this is the required angle between the two planes. So this is how you're going to get it. So we shall use tan of theta is given by the opposite side, which is 20. 20 is here, divided by the adjacent. The adjacent is 80, like that. Therefore, theta will be given by the tan inverse of 20 divided by 80. And this one gives 14.04 degrees when you work it out. So that is the angle required. We go to the other question, part C. Given that N is the midpoint of EH, calculate the angle between plane A and B and the plane ABCD. Given that N is the midpoint of EH, N is the midpoint of EH. So N here. So that is the midpoint. So I'll have to clear. So let me clear everything here so that I can illustrate that. So N is here. So N is the midpoint of VH. So you're supposed to calculate the angle between A and B and ABCD. A and B. So let me complete A and B. So we have A to N, and then B is there. So now you see that plane A and B and the base ABCD. So the required angle will be this angle here. Look at the point of intersection of the two planes. It is AB. So the required angle will be this. This will be the required angle. That will be the required angle here. So you can see you're forming a right angle triangle. Look at the two planes ANB and ABCD. Look at the point line of intersection of the two planes. That is where the angle will be made. The line is here. So the required angle to get it, you have to draw this line perpendicular to this plane, and then it is intersects with the perpendicular line from the other plane at this point. So this is the required angle. Now the measurements, this will be 80, and then this one will be 40. So that right angle triangle, you just use trig ratios. So tan of theta. So tan of theta is equals to the opposite side, which is 40, divided by the adjacent. The adjacent is 80, like that. And this will be given by, you get the tan inverse of 40 divided by 80. And this will give, when you work it out, you get 26.57 degrees. So that is how you're supposed to solve that question. Question 18. Question 18 is on transformation and matrices. It reads, triangle ABC has vertices A, 3, -2, B, 4, 3, and C, -3, 3. On the grid provided below, draw triangle ABC. There is one mark. So just drawing this one, you get a mark. So A, so 3, -2 is here. That is A. Then B is 4, 3 is here. And C is -3, 3. -3, 3 is here. That is where C is. So from there, you just need to join those points to get the triangle. So from A to B, then from B to C, then C to A. Use a ruler for these. So like that. Gives one mark. We proceed to the other question. Part B, point A is mapped onto A prime 3, 4 by a shear. Y-axis invariant. On the grid above, draw triangle A prime, B prime, C prime under the shear. So this is a transformation, this is a shear transformation. And now we have the image of A. So we have A, which is given by A is a 3, -2, 3, -2. That one is mapped onto A prime by a shear transformation, which is 3, 4. That. This one is a shear. The invariant line is given. That is a y-axis invariant line. Now we need to complete that triangle by giving B prime and C prime. Now for us to get the images of B prime and C prime, we need to know how we should get those points. And the first thing we need to get is the shear factor. We need to get the shear factor. For a shear, you fully describe it by giving the shear factor and the invariant line. So once we get the shear factor will help us to get the other points. And there's a formula that you're going to use to do this. So if you're given a transformation that is shear with y-axis invariant, this is how you get the other points, by using this formula. So x1, y1 is given by x, then y plus kx. Now you notice that in this particular transformation, the x-coordinate remains the same. So you can see there's no change in the x-coordinate. But for the y-coordinate, you can see there's a change from -2 to 4. And that is why, when you look at this formula here, x remains the same. So what is x1, y1? x1, y1 comes from the image point. So from A prime, 3 is x1, 4 is y1. Then where do we get x and y? X and y comes from the object point, so from A. So from A, x is 3, and the one y is -2. Now, having this formula, we'll be able to get the other points. So you can see the changes happening in the y-coordinate. So to get the images of the y-coordinate, you get y plus k, x, where k is the scale factor, or the scale factor for the shear. You can call it the scale factor for the shear or the shear factor. It is the shear factor. So now we can substitute. So x1, according to what we have here, x1 is, then y1 is 4, is equivalent to x is 3, and then y, you can see this, y is -2 plus k, x is 3. So you multiply that by 3, like that. You're just substituting. So this will give 3, 4 is equals to 3. This will give -2 plus 3k, 3 times k. So from here, you just equate the corresponding values. So you can see 3 corresponds with 3, and then 4 corresponds with -2 plus 3k. And these will give 3k is equivalent to 3k will be given by 4 plus 2, which is 6. And therefore, k is 2. That is the shear factor. So now we have the shear factor. Now after getting the shear factor, we are going to use that in order to get the coordinates of B. So now if I want B, for instance, B is given by, so you have the object which is 4, 3, 4, 3. So this one should be mapped to B prime. So B prime, B will not change. As you have already seen, for A, the x-coordinate doesn't change for A. So B remains to be 4. And then for Y, that is where we are going to apply this formula, which is a Y plus KX. This one is 4. Then Y, remember in this point, what is Y? X is 4, Y is 3. It is important to note that. So 4, Y is 3 plus, remember K, we got K as 2, the shear factor. So this will be 2 times X. X is 4, like that. And this one gives B prime as 4, 3 plus 8, that will be 11. So simply using this particular formula to get the y coordinate. So in this case, 4, x is 4, y is 3, and then use this formula, and then k is 2. This is the easiest way. Then for B, for C, For C, the object point is negative 3, 3. So that means x is negative 3, y is 3. So C prime will be given by, the x coordinate is not changing, remaining to be 3. Then for y, we have y plus kx. So this gives C prime as negative 3. Y is 3 plus k is 2 times x. X is negative 3, like that. So this gives C1. This would be negative 3. 3 plus negative 6. That would give 3 minus 6, negative 3. So now we have C prime and B prime. We just need to plot them. So B prime is 4, 11. So 4, 11 will be here. That is why we shall have B prime. Then C prime, negative 3, negative 3. C prime is negative 3, negative 3. It is here. C prime is there. So just join the points. There it is. And then it is C prime, B prime, and then A prime. A prime was 3, 4, 3, 4. A prime was 3, 4, 3, 4. It was here. So 3, 4. This is where we had A prime. That one was given. A prime is there. So join like that. So now we have the triangle. We have A prime, which is 3, 4. Then we have B prime, which is 4, 11. And then we have C, which is 3, negative 3. It is complete. Now we proceed to the other question. The other question is triangle A prime, B prime, C prime, that is part D, is mapped onto triangle A double prime, B double prime, C double prime by the transformation negative 1, 0, 0, 1. 1, state the coordinates of triangle A double prime, B double prime, C double prime. So what we actually need to do there is simply to pre-multiply. So we already have the coordinates of A prime, B prime. That is the one that is being transformed by this matrix. The matrix of transformation should come before. We should pre-multiply the matrix of transformation with the object. So that is negative 1, 0, 0, 1, like that. And then we have A prime, B prime, C prime. And this one should give us A double prime, B double prime, and C double prime, like that. So now we should have A prime, we got it as 3, that was 3, 4, B prime 4, 11, and C prime negative 3, negative 3. A double prime, B double prime, C double prime, that is what we need to get. So we just multiply these. So you should know how to multiply matrices. So row 1, column 1. So for this one, the first row, we should have negative 3. The negative 3. Let me see, this is row 1. So this one should give negative 3. Yeah. And then negative 4. And then this one will give 3. That is the first row. The second row, when you multiply, you'll get 4, 11, and negative 3. Now those are not the coordinates. These are already the coordinates. A double prime, negative 3, 4. B double prime, negative 4, 11. And C double prime, 3, negative 3. Go to part 2. Draw triangle A double prime, B double prime, C double prime. So A is negative 3, 4. So negative 3, 4. A double prime is there. Then negative 4, 11. Negative 4, 11. That is B double prime. And then the other one is 3, negative 3 is here. So we draw that. So A double prime to B. So A to B double prime like that. Then we have C. And then from C, we have that. So there we have triangle A double prime, B double prime, C double prime. So A, here it is, negative 3, 4. Then we have B, negative 4, 11. So negative 4, 11. Then C, 3, negative 3 is there. So we've done that. So that one is done. Then part 3, find a single matrix that maps triangle A double prime, B double prime, C double prime to triangle ABC. So a single matrix. So if you notice that for this one is a successive transformation, because the first started from ABC, That one was transformed to A prime, B prime, C prime. And then we have A double prime, B double prime, C double prime. So this one is a successive transformation. So what we require to get is a single matrix for successive transformation. Because you can see from this transformation, we have triangle ABC is transformed to a triangle A prime, B prime, C prime, then transform again to A double prime, B double prime, C double prime. So these there are two matrices that are involved, and there's a particular part there's a particular question. There's this question after getting the shear, that is part C. For the shear, we are supposed to determine the matrix representing that shear. Remember that in the first part. We completed the points from A, B, C. So from A, B, C to A prime, B prime, C prime. This was a shear. And we need to get that matrix. It is already here in part C of the question. Determine the matrix representing the shear. Now that shear was shear, and it was described, it was a shear y-axis invariant. Y-axis invariant with the shear factor as 2. So we can give this one as a matrix, and the general matrix representing shear y-axis invariant and shear factor 2 is given by 1 K 0 1, where K is the shear factor. So the matrix there was 1 2 0 1. So that was the matrix. I'd skip that. So from there we now can give so this matrix is 1 2 0 1, and then we have from A prime, B prime, C prime. This is the transformation matrix, negative 1 0 0 1. So now using these two, we should get, this is successive transformation. We should get a single matrix that transforms now ABC to A double prime, B prime, C double prime. And that single matrix of transformation will be given by, so because this is shear followed by the other transformation whose matrix is given there, getting the single matrix for successive transformation, this is how we are supposed to get it. We take the second one, which is negative 1 0 0 1, and then we multiply by 1 2 0 1, like that. Not the other way around, because this is shear followed by the other matrix, the other transformation. So we start with the other, how we go about successive transformation. So shear followed by the other transformation represented by that matrix. So we start with that matrix, then shear follows. So that is how we represent successive transformation matrix. So when you multiply, this is what you're going to get. So when you multiply that, you'll get negative 1, then here you get 0, then 2, 1. So that is the single matrix. Now, the question is, which matrix now will take that will map A double prime, B double prime, C double prime back to ABC. So you can see we're doing the opposite now. So from the image to the object, this will be the inverse of that single matrix that we already obtained, negative 1 2 0 1. It will be the inverse. The matrix that maps ABC to A double prime, B double prime, C double prime is given here. That is what we got. Now the one that will do the opposite, from now the image that is from A double prime, B double prime, C double prime back to ABC, it will be the inverse of that matrix. So we need to get the inverse of this matrix. First we get the determinant. The determinant will be negative 1 times 1, subtract 0 times 2, and this will give negative 1. Then getting the inverse, it is 1 over the determinant, which is negative 1. Then you know how we interchange these values. So this is a 1 could be 1, 0, then -2, -1, like that. You know how we go about these? Sorry, let me check. So these will be given by 1, 0, like that, and then -2, -1. It's supposed to be like that. So you know how we get the inverse. Again, you need to revisit this concept in case you've forgotten. How do you multiply matrices? How do you get the determinant and the inverse? So you're getting the inverse of -1, 2, 0, 1. And this will give, when you multiply everything here by -1, you get -1, 0, 2, 1. So now this will be the single matrix that would map A double prime, B double prime, C double prime onto ABC. So we started by getting single matrix for this successive transformation. That was the single matrix. That is a shear followed by the other transformation. Then once we got that, we got the inverse of that. So that is how you're supposed to solve that question. Question 19. A water vendor has a tank of capacity 18,900 liters. The tank is filled from two pipes A and B that are closed immediately the tank is full. Water flows at the rate of 150,000 centimeters cubed per minute and 120,000 centimeters cubed per minute from pipes A and B respectively. Part A. Calculate the time it takes to fill the tank if both taps A and B are opened at the same time in hours. That is the first question. So given the capacity of the tank, which is 18,900, and the tank is filled from two pipes. The first one, the rate is 150,000 centimeters cubed, and the other one is 120,000 centimeters cubed per minute. So the first thing we need to get is the rate of flow from the two pipes combined. So when A and B are running per minute in 1 minute, what will be the rate of flow? So that is from A, 150,000, then from B, 120,000. So this will give the rate of flow when the two pipes are running. And when they are running, the rate of flow will be 270,000 centimeters cubed from A and B. So when you look at the capacity of the tank is given in liters, so we need to convert these to liters by dividing it by 1,000. Remember, 1,000 centimeters cubed is equivalent to 1 liter. So this is equivalent to 270 liters when you convert. So that means when both taps, or when both pipes are running A plus B in 1 minute, they'll be able to fill 270 liters. That is the rate of flow, 270 liters. So what about to fill the tank? And the tank has a capacity of 18,900 liters. How long will that take? So for this one, you simply need to divide 18,900. We divide by 270. And this will give the time taken to fill the tank. This will give 70 minutes. And since you're required to give the answer in hours, 70 minutes is the same as 1 hour and 10 minutes. And this one can be written also as 10 minutes is a sixth of an hour. So that is the solution for the first part. Part B. On a particular day, the vendor started refilling the empty tank using taps A and B, but was forced to start serving his clients after 25 minutes of filling. Given that the draining tap C supplied 20 liters per minute to the clients, determine the exact time of the day the tank was filled, assuming that the client supply was continuous from 11:15 a.m. 6 marks. So you're given this important information here, and the one that you're going to use is this. He was forced to start serving the clients after 25 minutes of filling. After 25 minutes of filling. So we need to get how many liters were filled for these 25 minutes. How many liters? And because we have the rate of flow, that in 1 minute, A and B about to fill 270 liters. So what about these 25 minutes? Because he started serving the clients after 25 minutes. So we need to get the amount of that is in the tank after 25 minutes. So what about 25 minutes? So you just multiply 25 multiply by 270, and this gives us 6,750 liters. So this is the amount in 25 minutes. So after 25 minutes, this is the amount that is there in the tank. So the question is, given that the draining tap C, so draining tap C, this is the one that removes. So it drains. So because it is draining, we have to subtract. Now to get the rate of flow, the new rate of flow when A, B, and C are running. So A and B, they are filling the tank, but C is draining. So we need to get now the new rate of flow when the three of them are running. So in 1 minute, what will be the rate of flow? A plus B, remember, that is 270 liters, A and B running, and then C is draining, so we subtract 20. So in 1 minute, when the three of them are running, A and B and C, in 1 minute, the rate of flow will be 250 liters. 250 liters. So we need now to get the remaining part that is to be filled. Remember, the capacity of the tank is 18,000. So there's that part that is remaining. After 25 minutes of filling, we have to get the remaining part. And to get the remaining part, we get the capacity of the tank, 18,900. Then subtract what has already been filled for 25 minutes. And that was here, 6750 liters. So the fraction of the part that is remaining in terms of liters is, so when you subtract these, you get 12,150 liters. And now this one is the one that is to be filled when the three taps are running, when the three of them are running, A plus B and C. So in 1 minute, A and B and C are able to fill 150 liters. So what about this one that is remaining? How long will it take to fill these? 12,150 liters. So this one you just need to cross multiply 12,150, then you divide by 250, and this will give 48.6 minutes. 48.6 minutes. Now that is the time taken to fill the remaining part of the tank. Now the total time taken, because that is what you are required to get. Need to get now the total time taken. Remember, there was 25 minutes, first 25 minutes. Then the other part that remained was filled using 48.6 minutes. So this gives 73.6 minutes. And this one approximately will be 74 minutes. So 74 minutes now is the total time taken to fill the tank. Now we've not answered the question. The question is, determine the exact time of the day the tank was filled, assuming the client supply was continuous from 11:15. So the supply started at 11:15. Now the exact time of the day the tank was filled, total time taken to fill is 74 minutes. So 74 minutes is equivalent to 1 hour and 14 minutes. So to get the time the tank was filled, we just take 11:15 then we add 1 hour and 14 minutes. This will give 12:29 p.m. That was the exact time the tank was filled. Question 20 is a question on statistics. The table below shows a distribution of marks scored by 82 students in a mathematics test. So you have the marks and you have the frequency. Part A, using an assumed mean of 55.5, calculate 1 mean mark, 3 marks, mean mark. So this is a group data and you should know how to calculate mean using an assumed mean of a grouped data. So this is how we get it. So it's given by this formula. So I'll write it somewhere here. So the formula calculating mean using the assumed mean is given by assumed mean plus the summation of FD divided by the summation of F, where D is the deviation from the mean, the deviation from the mean. So therefore we need to have that column for deviation of the mean. And for us to do that, we have to create some columns and rows. So I'll do that one very fast. Some columns and rows that are going to help us work out this question. So I need like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I need so many. So these are the columns that we need. So we will need the marks, that is X, in that column. And then we need the deviation from the mean. We also need the frequency. First of all, we'll put the frequency. And then we need the deviation from the mean. Then we need to have frequency multiplied by deviation. You could see from the formula there. That is what we needed per now for us to proceed. So we start with X. X are the marks. And how do you get the marks? The midpoint of all the classes. So like for the first class, 1 to 10, we simply take 1 plus 10, that is 11. 11 divided by 2, we get 5.5. So that is 5.5. The next class, we do the same. 11 plus 20, that is 31, divided by 2, that will give 15.5. So when you look at all these classes, they are uniform. The class size, I can see it is 10. So you can see from 5.5, we are adding the class size that is 10 to get 15.5. So that is what we need to do for all the others. So 15.5 plus 10, that is get 25.5, plus 10, 35.5, 45.5, 55.5, 65.5, 75.5, 85.5, and then we have 95.5, the last one. So the frequencies, we have 3, we have 5, 5, 9, 11, 15, 14, 8, 6, and 4. Then the deviations from the mean. First of all, we need to get the mean before we get the deviation. The deviation, already you have the assumed mean, so using the assumed mean. So deviation from the assumed mean. So for this column, this is what you're going to do. Deviation will be given by, can you load this? Deviation will be given by X minus the assumed mean, which is a 55.5. That is what you're going to do. To get that column of D, take X, subtract 55.5. Like for the first one, it is a 5.5. X is 5.5. Subtract the assumed mean, which is 55.5. That gives negative 50. 15.5 minus 55.5, that only get negative 40. 25.5, subtract 55.5, get negative 30. 35.5, subtract 55.5, get negative 20. The next one, 45.5, that is negative 10. And then the next one is 0. 55.5, subtract 55.5. The other one is 10, 20, 30, and 40. That is how we get D. Then FD, take the frequency, multiply by D. The first one is 3 times negative 50, negative 150. This one is negative 200, negative 150, negative 180, negative 110, 0, 140, 160, 180, 160. It is as simple as that. And then from there, we now need to get the summation of FD. So summation of FD. We add everything in this column, summation of FD. So take a calculator, -150 plus -200 plus -150 plus -180 plus -110 plus 0 plus 140 plus 160 plus 180 plus 160. That gives -150, -150. Now the summation of F, when you add the total frequency here, 3 plus 5 plus 5 plus 9 plus 11 plus 15 plus 14 plus 8 plus 6 plus 4, you get that one to be 80. This is a mistake in the question here. You can see it is recorded as 82, but actually when you add everything here, the total frequency, you get 80. So this one should give 80, not 82. Now we have the formula. Remember the formula for calculating the actual mean using the assumed mean. So actual mean is given by assumed mean plus the summation of FD divided by the summation of F. We have assumed mean as 55.5 plus summation of FD. We have that one as -150 divided by summation of frequency, which is 80. Working out this one using a calculator, you get 53.625 as the solution. We go to part B. Part 2, the standard deviation. How do you calculate the standard deviation? First of all, we need to get the formula. How do you get the standard deviation of a group data using the assumed mean? So standard deviation is given by the square root of the variance. And this is how you get the variance. Summation of, get it by the square root of the variance, which is the summation of FD squared divided by the summation of F, subtract the summation of FD divided by the summation of F, and then you square this. So the columns that we need to add here is D squared, FD squared. So we need D squared first, then we get F multiplied by D squared. So D squared is simply, you take what you have here, then you square it. So when D is -150, square that, you get 2500. And then this one gives 1600. This is 900, 400, 100, 0, 100, 400, and 900, and 1600. Then get F multiplied by D squared. So you're taking this column multiplied by this. So it is 3 multiplied by 25. That gives 7500. You get 7500. So the next one is 5 times 16, that is 8000. 5 times 900, that is 4500. 9 times 4, that is 3600. 11 times 10, this is 1100. This is a 0. 1400, 3200, 3200, and then we have 5400, and then we have 64. So now from there we can get the summation of FD, the summation of FD squared. The summation of FD squared means you add everything in this column. So very fast, 75 plus 8000 plus 45 plus 36 plus 1100 plus 0 plus 14 plus 32 plus 54 plus 64. That gives 41,100. 41,100. Now we have everything that we need to get the standard deviation given by the square root of the variance. So now we have the summation of FD squared, which is 41,100. Divided by summation of F is 18. Subtract summation of FD. Summation of FD is here, -150, divided by summation of F. Then you square that. and you get the square root. So you're supposed to get. Now working out this one, I'll feed everything in the calculator. 4100 divided by 80, subtract negative 150 by 80 squared. This one should give 19.15. That is how you get the standard deviation, the square root of the variance. Find the number of students who scored 73% and above. 73% and above. So let's go to the classes. So you can see 73 and above will be in this class where we have 71 to 80. So 73. So we need to get the number of students who are able to score from 73 to 80 first. We get the number of students in that particular class. So from 73 to 80. So from 73 to 80, you can see that this is an interval of how many marks? These are 7 marks. 7 marks. And to get the number of students who scored 73 to 80 in that particular class, because you can see now the interval from 73 to 80 is 7 marks, we get the proportion. Remember, the class width of that class is 10. So the number of students will be who scored 73 and above will be 7 divided by 10. 10, this is 7 marks. Then the class size, total number of marks in that class is 10 marks. We multiply by 8, because you can see the frequency of that class. The frequency of that class is 8. So this will give the number of students who are able to score 73% to 80. So you started by getting the interval from 73 to 80. Those are 7 marks. 7 marks out of the total proportion of the class size from 71 to 80 of that class is 10. So that is why you're getting 7 divided by 10. Then multiply by the frequency, that is 8. We multiply by 8. So these will give the number of students who are able to score 73 and above, that is 73 to 80 in that class. And these will be 5.6 students. Now from there, we have the other classes. So we have now from 81 to 90, there are 6 students. 81 to 90, there are 6 students. So 81 to 90, those are 6 students. And then the last one is 91 to 100. 91 to 100. So 91 to 100, those are 4 students. And then 73 to 80, we've got 5.6 students. So we get the total. We simply add these. So 5.6 plus this will give 15.6. 15.6. And since here we're dealing with the number of students, we shall give this one approximately to 16 students. So this one is approximately 16 students who are able to score 73 and above. That is 73 to 100. So from 73 to 80, we got 5.6. Then 81 to 90, 6 students. 91 to 100, 4 students. So in total, the number of students who are able to score 73% and above, we have approximated this one to 16 students. Now the other question, that is a part C, that if the student was added 5 marks, determine the new mean and the standard deviation. If each student was, we start with the mean. What happens if you add a constant mark to each student? That one would definitely change the mean. And the mean is going to change by that mark that you're adding to each student. So if you're adding 5, 5, 5, 5 to each, then the mean automatically, the new mean will change by 5. So you have to add 5. So the new mean, we have, the original mean was 53.625. 53.625. So you simply add 5 and the new mean will be 58.625. So what about the new standard deviation? What happens to standard deviation when you add a constant value? These are 5 marks to each student. The standard deviation will not change. Why will it not change? Because standard deviation measures the spread. How is the mark spread from the mean, from the average? And no matter how whichever constant value you add, that one does not change the distance between the marks and the mean. It doesn't change that spread, because the standard deviation simply is the measure of the spread of the marks from the mean. So that one will not change. So whenever you add each mark to each student, the standard deviation remains to be the same, because that distance will remain to be constant. As much as you're adding a constant value or subtracting, that distance will remain to be constant. So that one will not change anything. So the new standard deviation will still be 19.15. So that is what you're supposed to do in that question. Question 21, part A. Complete the table below for the equation y is equals to sine x and y is equals to cosine of x minus sine x, correct to 2 decimal places, 2 marks. So you're supposed to complete this table correct to 2 decimal places. You can see the angles are given in terms of pi radians. That one should not worry you. Just need to know the equivalent angles in degrees. And what should help you? Pi radian. Remember that pi radian is equivalent to 180 degrees. Once you know that, you'll be able to convert all these. If pi radian is equals to 180 degrees, so this will be 180 divided by 6. This will be 30 degrees. Then this one will be 60 degrees. This is 90 degrees. This will be 120 degrees, 150 degrees, 180. This is 210 degrees, and this one is 240. That is just to help you when you're working it out using the calculator. Once you've known the equivalent of these angles in pi radians, in terms of the degrees, now use your calculator to work out this. You just need to feed everything that is here using a calculator. Now, y is equals to sine of x. When x is 30, that is pi radian divided by 6. So y is equals to sine of 30. Just feel that. Y is equals to sine of 30 in the calculator. You just feel that. You be very keen. You're required to give the answers correct to 2 decimal places. So fill this one very fast. So this will give 0.5, 0.50, correct to 2 decimal places. Then 60 will be 0.87. That one is given there. So the other one is 90. Sine of 90 degrees, that is 1.00. 120, that is 2 pi radian over 3. And that one will be 0.5, not 0.5, 0.87, like that. Then the next one, 50, 0.5 is given. Then 180 will be 0.00, correct 2 decimal places. Then the last one there, that is 240, that will give negative 0.87. That is all for that part. Now, the other row, y is equals to cosine of x subtract sine of x. Just feed in this the way it is. So y, in your calculator, this is what you're going to feed to get y. Cosine of x. For example, the first one is 0. Cosine of 0, subtract the sine of 0. That is what you're supposed to feed in the calculator. Cosine of 0, subtract sine of 0. Then you get 1. This will give you 1.00. The next one is 60. So cosine of 60, subtract sine of 60. That will give 0.37. Not 0.37. That will give a negative. It will be negative 0.37. Then for 90, we have negative 1, 120. So cosine of 120, subtract sine of 120. That is negative 1.37. Then the next is 180. Cos 180, subtract sine 180. That will give negative 1, like that. Then the other one is 210. 210. Cos 210, subtract sine 210. That will give negative 0.37. And you've done that. So you filled the table, correct all the values correct to 2 decimal places, and you get 2 marks for that. Now, part B, on the grid provided, draw a graph of y is equals to sin x and y is equals to cos x subtract sin x, or the range is given there. X should be greater than or equal to 0 pi radian or less than or equal to 8/6 pi radian. So that range is from 0 to 240 degrees. And you're given the scale. Strictly use this scale that is given. Use this 2 centimeters to represent pi radian over 6. This is equivalent of 180 divided by 60 or 30. So 2 centimeters, 30 degrees. So it means 1 centimeter will be representing 15 degrees. Then for the y-axis, 4 centimeters to represent 1 unit. So I already have these curve drawn. So just explain. Once you have the table of values correctly filled and you have the scale, you just need to draw the x and the y-axis, put the scale, and then you just need to be very keen with what exactly one small square represents what. I'll take you through. So I have already the graph is here. I'll explain. So you can see on the y-axis, so on the y-axis, you need to know one small square. On the y-axis, you have 4 units represent 1. So that means 1 centimeter will represent 0.25, 0.5, 0.75, then 1. So you can see 4 centimeters represents 1. So if you want to get the size of one small square, you simply need to take 0.25 divided by 5, and that will give you 0.05. It will help you in plotting. So in x-axis, for the x-axis, you have 2 centimeters to represent, given there, 2 centimeters represent 30, that is pi radian over 6. So 1 centimeter represent there 15. So one small square will be 15 divided by 5. So it will represent 3. That will help you when you're plotting. So now you plot and you get these. Not take you through this one because already you know how to plot these, like 0, 0, that is for sine. So 0, 0 is here for sine. Then the next one is for 30 degrees, that is 0.5. 30 is here, 0.5. You can see 0.5 is here. And then you have for 60, 0.87, 0.87. For 60, 60 is here, 0.87. So let me explain about this. I will plot this. 60 is 0.87. So we said the size of one small square is 0.05. So this is 0.75. The next small square will be 0.8. Then the next one is 0.85. And then when you jump to the next one, it will be 0.9. So you will not go to that exact. So you just approximate somewhere in between there. So 0.75, 0.8, then 0.85, 0.85. And then before you reach the next square, because that will be 0.9, somewhere in the middle there, that is why we shall have 0.87. So you have to approximate that one very well. So make sure you understand the scale, and that is why I have given you what is the size of one small square and what is the size of 1 centimeter, what it represents. That one will help you in making sure that you plot all the points correctly. So once you've plotted all the points correctly, having understood the scale, and you need to confirm all these points are okay, you simply need to join all your points using. So for this one, you may not be able to draw exactly the way that this one is computer generated, but ensure that your curve is smooth and the curve passes through all those points. Sure the curve is smooth and it passes through all those given points. So once you've done that, you'll get marks for that. You'll get 4 marks. 4 marks. So there will be a mark for scale. Then there will be plotting and smooth curve. Then there will be plotting and smooth curve. You can see this one has 4 marks. Ideally, sometimes you find this one given 5 marks because you have a plotting for each curve, and for the smooth curve you get a mark. Then for the scale, you get a mark, so on. So for this one, you just get, there was no mark for the scale, just so correct plotting and the smooth curve. But be sure that you've used the given scale. Sometimes you may lose a mark for not following that scale. So there was a mark for scale, plotting, and the smooth curve. So now we've drawn the curve, is there. Now we go to the questions. The question is here. So you can see those are 4 marks for the graphs and 2 marks for filling the table. Those are 6 marks. Part C, use the graph in B above to 1, solve the equation cos x is equals to 2 sin x. So you're supposed to solve these, and there's something that I noticed here. Cosine of x is equals to, wait, let me check. You can see that. So when you look at, I was confirming something. So when you look at the graph that you're given here, cosine of x is equals to sin x. How did we come with that? So when you equate the two curves, the first one is y is equals to sin x, y is equals to sin x. Then the second one is y is equals to, is it cos x minus sin x, cos x minus sin x. If you equate the values of y, this is y and this one is y. So if you equate them, I can start with this one. Cos x minus sin x, that is y, is equivalent to the other value of y, the function sin x. You'll notice that you'll get cosine of x. If you take this one to the right hand side, you get plus sin x. This will give to sin x. So this is where this one comes from. So in simple terms, to solve these, you need to look at the point of intersection, of the two curves. When you find the function of one curve is equated to the function of the other curve and you're supposed to solve, you look at the point of intersection of the two curves. And the point of intersection of the two curves given here, this is one point and this one is the other point. So you just read the angle. You just drop down from this point of intersection, drop down, and you notice this will be 15. We check to be, just make sure you read, that is why we went through what is the size of one small square and 1 centimeter. This is why you're going to use it. So look at this point. So when you read the x value here, you find these are for the 3, but this will be 15 plus 3 times 4. These are 4 squares. That is a 15 plus 12. That will be 27. It will be 27 degrees when you drop down here. This will be 27 degrees. So it will be 27 degrees. So the first value is 27 degrees. And then the second one, we shall convert this one to pi radians. And the second one is here. Second one, this point of intersection. So just read the angle. Just drop straight using a ruler. You actually draw, if you want to make sure that you are accurate, you ensure that you can draw from that point. You just draw a point there. You draw a straight line. So from this point, just to show you read, let me draw properly. So from this point, that one is okay. That one is okay. You can see. So this is how you read it. So you can see you drop straight down from this point of intersection. You read this angle here. This is 27. And then from here, straight using a ruler, this is 195 plus, this is 3 times 4 plus 12 to give 207 degrees. Now, those are the angles, but now you are not supposed to give the angles in terms of degrees, because from the question, you can see you're supposed to give the angles. The angles are given in pi radians. So you convert these to pi radians, and this is how you convert these. Remember, we said that pi radian is equals to 180 degrees. So what about 27 degrees to be what? So you simply divide 27 by 180. And when you simplify this one, this will give 3 divided by 20 pi radians. So that is the first solution. 207, just 207 divided by 180 pi radian. And when you simplify this, you get 69 divided by 20. So those are the two values of x. Part 2 of the question, find the range of x for cosine of x minus sine of x is less than or equal to -1. Now just remember that cosine of x subtract sine of x. is y. So y is equals to cosine of x minus sine of x. From the function here, you have it here. That is y. That is equivalent to y. So this is equivalent to y. So it means that this one is the one that is less than or equal to. So this one is less than or equal to -1. So in simple terms, you're saying that y, the whole of this is y, is less than or equal to -1. So what you need to do to get this range, you just need to draw this line. So this comes from the line pi is equals to -1. So you draw that line from this graph here. So draw the line. Y is equals to -1 is here. So the line is there. So the line y is equals to -1. And then look at the point of intersection of the curve. This, you can see the point of intersection on this curve here. This is the curve where we have the curve y is equals to cos x subtract sin x. That is the curve we are looking at, where the point of intersection between that line y is equals to -1 and that curve. So this is the point. So when you drop straight, you find this is 90, this is 90, and then this one is 180. Hope you notice that. So this is 90. So that is 90. First one is 90. So the first one is 90. So x is equals to 90 degrees. And the other one is this one. So from here, just drop. This is 180. 180 degrees. 180 degrees. Again, you cannot leave these answers like this. You have to give the range. And this is how you give the range. So convert these ones so to pi radians. So 90 divided by 180 pi radian. This is the same as pi radian over 2. And this one is the same as pi radian. 180 is the same as pi radian. Simple as that. So the range should be pi radian, or the x should be greater than or equal to 90 degrees, which is pi radian over 2, and it should be less than or equal to 180. 180 is pi radian. So this is how you're supposed to leave the range. That is how you're supposed to solve that question. Question 22. Question 22 is a question on sequence and series. Part A, given the series 2 plus 4 plus 8 plus 16 plus dash plus 16, 384. Part 1, identify the type of series. So to identify this type of series, you have to study the series and note what is happening to that series. What is happening from one term to the next. When you look at from 2 to 4, from 4 to 8, 8 to 16 and so on. So those ones will show you that there's actually a common ratio. This is how you get the common ratio. You take 4 divided by 2. That one is similar with 16 divided by 8. And you notice there is a constant ratio of 2. So this is a series having a common ratio. And the type of series that are common ratio is a geometric series. So this one is geometric series, a series with a common ratio. We go to second part, find the number of terms in the series. How do you get the number of terms? When you look at that series, you have the last term and the first term and the last term is given. So what is going to help us to get the number of terms is the last term. The last term is the nth term. So the nth term, which is the last term, is given as 16,384. How do we get the nth term of a geometric series? The nth term is given by a, r, then raised to power n minus 1, where a is the first term. So in this case, we have a being the first term, 2, then multiply by the common ratio, we got it as 2, then power n minus 1. The number of terms here will be given by n. So when we get the value of n, that is what is going to give us the number of terms. So now we're solving for n, and this one should give the nth term or the last term, which is 16,384. So you have this equation to solve to get n. So start by dividing both sides of this equation by 2. divide this by 2, and I'll get 2 raised to power n minus 1 is equals to, so when you divide this by 2, you get 8192. And 8192 can be expressed in terms of index form, and this will give 8192. If you write this one to the base of 2 in power form, it is 2 raised to power 13. So therefore you have 2 raised to power n minus 1 is equals to 2 raised to power 13. You can see the bases are the same from both sides, so you simply pick the powers, and you have n subtract 1 is equivalent to 13, and therefore the value of n is 14. So the number of terms therefore is 14 terms. Go to part 3. Calculate the sum of the first of the terms in the series. Calculate the sum of the terms in the series. So again, how do you get the sum of a number of terms in a geometric series? There are two formulas, one when the ratio is greater than 1, another one when the ratio is less than 1. So in this case, the ratio is 2, and that is greater than 1. So when the ratio is greater than 1, this is the formula that we use. Sum of a number of terms n is given by a first term ratio raised to power n subtract 1, everything divided by r to power n, not r to power n, but r subtract 1. So this is the formula for calculating the sum of a number of terms in the geometric series when the ratio is greater than 1. Now what you need to do is just substitution. So already we have the 14 terms. We have that. We have just obtained their 14 terms. So it is the sum of the 14 terms. So n therefore is equals to 14. Then a, which is the first term, we have it here. The first term is 2. So the sum is given by 2. Then common ratio, which is 2 raised to power n, which is 14, subtract 1. Everything divided by r, which is the common ratio, we got it to be 2. So this is 2 subtract 1. So this gives 2. And then we have 2 raised to power 14. 2 to power 14 is 16,384. This is 16,384, subtract 1, and then divided by 1. So just same as, so this is what is going to give you the solution. So when you work out that using a calculator, now this is what you're supposed to get. So this will give that 2,766. So that is the sum of the terms in the series. Part B, given that the sum of the first n terms of the sequence 3 plus 7 plus 11 plus 15 plus dash then is 820, find the last term of the sequence. So what is the last term? As we said previously in the other question, the last term is the nth term. The last term is the nth term. Another thing you need to do is to identify the type of sequence this one is. So which type of a sequence? This one is arithmetic sequence. Why? There's a common difference. So look at subtract 3, that is 4. 11 subtract 7, that is 4. 15 subtract 11, that is 4. So you can see there's a common difference. There's a common difference, and the difference is 4. So a sequence with a common difference is called arithmetic sequence. So how do you get the nth term of an arithmetic sequence? Is given by a plus n subtract 1 multiplied by d. So now we need to get the last term. So we have find the last term of the sequence. So looking at that formula again, let me check whether this one will help. So we have a, we have the first term. We don't have the number of terms, and if we don't have the number of terms, again we have the common difference, so that one may not be applicable. So since you're given the sum of the first n terms, the sum of the first n terms, because you're going to use that. So how do you get the sum of a number of terms in arithmetic sequence? So sum is given by n divided by 2 then 2a plus n subtract 1 multiplied by d. So that is what you're going to use because you already have the sum is given by, so the sum of a number of terms is 820. So therefore 820 is equals to n divided by 2, then 2 multiplied by a is 3. So a, the first term is 3, so 2 times 3 plus n subtract 1, d, the common difference is 4, like that. So this will give 820 is equals to n divided by 2 is give 6 plus 4n minus 4, like that. So from here, I can multiply both sides. To simplify this, I can multiply this one by 2, this side by 2. And when I do that, this is what I will get. Now 820 times 2, I get 1640. So get 1640 is equals to n. Then you have 6 plus, when you simplify these, 6 subtract 4, that one you get 2 plus 4n. That is what you get, cos, and these two will divide out. So from there, so you have 1640 is equals to 2n plus 4n squared. Reorganize this one to form a standard quadratic equation. So you have 4n squared plus 2n minus 1640 is equals to 0. I can go ahead and simplify this equation by dividing all through by 2 to get 2n squared plus n minus 820 is equals to 0. This is a quadratic equation and it is going to give us n, which is the number of terms. Once you get the number of terms, that will assist us to get the last term, because that is what was missing from this expression here. So how do you solve this quadratic equation? You can use a factorization method, or you can use the quadratic formula. I will use the quadratic formula. N will be given by minus b plus or minus b squared minus 4ac divided by 2a. So in this case, a is given by the coefficient of n squared, which is 2, b, the coefficient of n, which is 1, c, the constant term, which is negative 820. So we substitute these. So when you substitute these, you get n is equals to negative b. So this is negative 1 plus or minus. So b squared is 1. Subtract 4 times a is 2 times c. c is negative 820, like that. Divided by 2 times a, that is 2 times 2. So this gives negative 1 plus or minus. Whatever is in under the square root sign, when you work it out using a calculator, you get 6561, everything divided by 4. So from there, you have n is equals to negative 1 plus or minus. The square root of 6581 is 81, everything divided by 4. So here you shall have two values of, so you shall have two values of n. There are two values of n. So the first, n is equals to negative 1 plus 81 divided by 4. And this one will give n to be 20, or n is equals to negative 1 subtract 81. You consider both positive and negative, divided by 2, and this will give the answer to be 20.5 negative. So of course you shall ignore this one because the number of terms will not be negative, so you ignore that. Then because you're looking for the number of terms, it should be an absolute value. So and therefore n is equals to 20. Now, because n is equals to 20, we are now able to calculate with that information. Having obtained n, we can now get the last term. We say the last term is the nth term. So how do you get the nth term? So therefore, the last term, which is the nth term, is equals to a plus n minus 1 d. So in this case, we have a, and the first term of this sequence is 3. Remember, it is 3. So a is equals to 3. So this is 3 plus n. N is 20. You got that. Subtract 1 Then the common difference, we identify the common difference to be 4. So this will give 3 plus. This will be 19 times 4. And this will be 3 plus 76. And this will give 79. So therefore, the last term is 79. That is how you're supposed to solve that question. Question 23. This is a question on income tax. The table below shows the income tax rates for a certain year. So the table is there. It is very important to study that table. Tax paid per month, that is in Kenya shillings. Then you have the tax rate in percentage. So the slabs are given there. So that year, Mary Lynette paid a net tax of Kenya shillings 43.12 per month. Her total monthly taxable allowances amounted to 15,220, and he was entitled to a monthly relief of 1,062. Every month, the following deductions were made: NHIF 320, union dues 2,000, and cooperative shares 500. Calculate A. Mary Lynette's monthly basic salary in Kenya shillings, 7 marks. So you're given all the information and you have the net tax. The net tax is given. Then we have the taxable allowances are given, and the monthly relief is given, and then the other deductions. How do you get the basic salary? When you look at what you've been given, you have the net tax, and that is what you're going to use to calculate the taxable income. And once we get the taxable income, we'll be able to get the basic salary. So how do we get the taxable income? Using the net tax. That is reverse taxation or backward taxation, where we use the net tax in order to get the taxable income. So this is how we go about it. So we're going to get the income that was taxed in order to get this tax of 43.12. And to do that, we'll need to get the gross tax as first. So we need to get the gross tax. And gross tax is given by the net tax. Since we are moving backwards, remember, to get the net tax, we subtracted the relief. So now to get back, because we're moving backwards, we're doing reverse taxation, we shall add that relief. And this will give net tax is 43.12. Then we add the relief, which is 1062. So this will give the gross tax of, when you add these, 53.74. So this is the figure that you're going to use now in order to get what income was taxed in order to get this gross tax, 53.74. We're going to use each of these slabs. The first slab is from 1 to 96.80. So the size of that slab is 96.80. Then the rate of taxation there is 10%. So the tax that you get after working out that will give a tax of 968. So that is the tax in the first slab. That is 968. And remember, we must get a total tax of 53.74. So what is remaining? I'll be putting what is remaining in the bracket. So we already have 968. Now, when you're proceeding to the next slab, we need to know what we are moving with. So we have 53.74. That is a tax we want to show we get. Then from the first slab, we already have the tax of 968. So we want to get the balance. So what is remaining is a 44.06. So that is what is remaining. Now we proceed to the second slab. The size of the second slab is 18,800. Subtract 96.80. That is how you get the size of that slab. And this will give 91.20. So 91.20 times 15%. and this will give a tax of 1368. So again, what is remaining? So from the first slab, we had the tax is reducing, so we had 44. We had 4406. Now from the second slab, we subtract 1368. So now as we move to the third slab, we'll be having a balance of 38. So we'll proceed until we are able to have the whole of this figure, 5374. So every slab we're moving, it should be reducing. So we go to the next slab. So the next slab, that slab, the size is 27,920, subtract 18,800. So you get the size of that slab is 27,920, subtract 18,800. The size is still the same, 9120, still the same, 9120, times the rate at that slab is 20. And this will give 1824. So we're still subtracting. So now from the second slab, we had 38. We subtract 1824. So whatever goes to the other slab will be 1214. 1214. So let's see now. 1214, let's see whether that one will be enough for the other slab. So the size of the other slab is 37040, subtract 27920. So this is still the same. It's still the same, 9120. 9120. The rate there is 25%. So let's see what amount of tax we get there. So this will be 9120 times 25 divided by 100. That will give 2280. 2280. Now this one tells you that not the whole of this amount, 9120, is required in that slab. Because you can see what we already have, the tax that we have from the previous slab is 1214. So if we go with the whole of this amount, we are ending up with 2280. So that means we are going to exceed this tax here. So it tells us that this amount, 9120, will not be full, and therefore we will let this amount, not the whole of that amount, will be taxed. So we will let the amount that will be taxed in that slab to be X at the rate of 25%, and that should give exactly what is remaining from the previous slab, that is 1214. So that now when you add all these taxes, 968, 1368, 1824, and 1214, that should be exactly 5374. It should not exceed. But by going with that figure 9120 here, you saw the figure was exceeding. So we work out this. So X times 25% is equals to 14. So what is X? So X will be given by 1214 times 100 divided by 25. And this will give 4856. 4856. So this amount is 4856. That is X. So now after getting that, we now have everything that we need to get the taxable income. Now when you add these taxes here, I'll circle them. So we're 968 plus 1368 plus 1824 plus 1214. That will give you 5374. So what we have here, 4856, is the taxable income in this slab. Taxable income in this slab that will give 1214 when taxed at this rate of 25%. So now This is tax, this is a taxable income. So taxable income is given by, we add all these 9680 plus 9120 plus 9120 plus 4856. So 9680 plus 9120, there are 2, so you multiply by 2, then plus 4856. So that one gives, when you work it out, that will give 32,776. That is the taxable income, what we call the gross income. That will help us to get the basic salary. Because how do we get the basic salary? I remember that the basic salary, so basic salary is given by, you shall take the taxable income, subtract the allowances. The taxable income, we have 32,776. Subtract the allowances are here. The allowances amounted to 15 to 20. In the question, 15 to 20. And this one should give us the basic salary as 17,556. That is the basic salary. Part B, her monthly net salary. So how do you get the net salary? By taking the taxable income, then subtract all the deductions. So taxable income, already we have the taxable income as 32,776. Then the deductions, we add them one by. The first deduction is the net tax pay. Don't forget that. That should be the first one. And we have it as 4312. We have it there, 4312. Not the gross. It is the net tax. So the net tax, which is 4312. Plus, we have others here. So we have other deductions from the question. We have NHIF 320. Then we have union dues of 2,000. And we have 500. So 320, 2,000, and 500. So we add 3 of them. So we have 320 plus 2,000 plus 500. Those are the deductions. Make sure you have captured all the deductions. So now we get that 2,776 subtract 4312 plus 320 plus 2,000 plus 500, like that. That gives 25,644. 25,644. So you're getting in shillings 25,644. So that is what you get after adding. And ensure that you are careful when you are adding all these. So 312 plus 320 plus 2,000 plus 500 is okay. So that is how you're supposed to solve that question. Question 24. A particle was moving along a straight line. The acceleration of the particle after t seconds was given by 40 minus 13 meters per second squared. The initial velocity of the particle was 18 meters per second. Part A, determine the value of t when the particle is momentarily at rest. So you're supposed to find the value of t and the particle is momentarily at rest, and what you're given is acceleration. So you have acceleration as 4t minus 13. How do we get velocity? How do we get velocity? Because you can see in this statement here, you're given the initial velocity of the particle was 18 meters per second. So how do we get velocity from acceleration? Because for us to answer this question, when the particle is momentarily at rest, the particle will be momentarily at rest when velocity is equivalent to 0. And therefore, we must find velocity. So to get velocity, we integrate. We shall integrate velocity. You integrate acceleration with respect to t. So that is what you're going to do. So we integrate this, so velocity, you integrate 4t minus 13 with respect to t. So this will give 4t squared divided by 2 minus 13t plus the constant of integration. This is now velocity. So simplify this will be given by 2t squared subtract 13 plus c, like that. So once you've done that, from this statement now, the initial velocity of the particle was 18. Velocity was 18 meters per second. So at initial velocity, time will be equivalent to 0. So we have velocity at initial velocity. The t is equals to 0, time is equals to 0 seconds, and then you're given the initial velocity to be 18 meters per second. So you just need to substitute it in this expression for velocity. So v is equals to 18 is equals to substitute t with 0, that is 0 squared minus 13, 0 plus c. This will give the constant of integration as c. So we have the constant of integration as c. So now the full expression for velocity will be v is equals to 2t squared minus 13t plus 18. So we have it there now. Now having this, we'll be able now to get the value of t when the particle is momentarily at rest. So we said when the particle is at rest, velocity is equals to 0. So at rest, you just equate velocity with 0. So 2t squared minus 13t plus 18 is equals to 0. So this is a quadratic equation. So once you solve it, you find two values of t when the particle is momentarily at rest. So use factorization. So look for two numbers whose product is 36 and the sum is negative 13. This is negative 4 and negative 9. So 2t squared negative 4t negative 9t plus 18 is equals to velocity, which is 0. Factorize, 2t is common, t subtract 2 minus 9 is common, t subtract 2 is equals to 0. So 2t minus 9 multiplied by t minus 2 is equals to 0. So therefore 2t minus 9 is equals to 0, and here you'll get t is equals to 9 over 2, which is 4.5 seconds. And the other value will be t minus 2 is equals to 0. So t is equals to 2 seconds. So now we have the two values of t when the particle is momentarily at rest. So 4.5 and 2 seconds. Part B. Find the distance covered by the particle between time t is equals to 1 second and t is equals to 3 seconds. So that is what you're supposed to find. The distance. Again, how do you get the distance? Now looking at what we have already expressed, velocity, we have velocity. Velocity, we have it as 2t squared. 2t squared is up here, minus 13t plus 18. So to find distance given the velocity, we integrate. Distance s is obtained by integrating velocity. So we shall integrate these to get, we integrate velocity to get distance. That is very important. Now, you're supposed to integrate that on from the intervals of 1 to 3 seconds. But I actually like to put this one clear, that you're not supposed to integrate directly from 1 to 3. Why? Because sometimes you find, if you draw this curve, 2t squared minus 13t plus 18, you'll find there is a part that will be above the axis and the other one will be below the axis. So to prevent that, it is always good to do it in parts. First, check where this equation cuts the x-axis. If you have to draw this, so where does it cut the x-axis? And you do that by simply, this one will guide you to know whether you're supposed to integrate in parts or whether you're supposed to integrate directly. So this is what you're supposed to integrate, 2t squared minus 13t plus 18. And therefore, to check where this curve cuts the x-axis, you're going to equate this one to 0. 2t squared minus 13t plus 18 is equals to 0. And when you look at these, we have already solved these and we found two values of t. The first one was t is equals to 2 and t is equals to 4.5. So therefore, if you're integrating from 1 to 3, so if you're integrating from 1 to 3, you can see there's another instance here, t, where you have 2. You have 2 and also you have 4.5. So the best way to integrate these is to integrate from 1 to 2, then from 2 to 3. That is what you're going to do. So integrate from 1 to 2, then from 2 to 3. So I found that one very important to explain, because once you do it directly, in some instances you find you go wrong. So let me do that. So we shall integrate. So we are going to integrate from 1 to 2. This is a 2t squared. We said when you want to get displacement or distance given the velocity, you integrate velocity. So minus 13t plus 18, like that, with respect to t, plus we integrate from 2 to 3. 2t squared minus 13t plus 18 with respect to t. So this is what you're going to do. So we start this, with this one from 1 to 2. So when you integrate 2t squared, this will give 2t cubed divided by 3 minus 13t squared divided by 2 plus 18t plus c. You can work this one first. So this is a from 1 to 2. From 1 to 2. So we start by substituting t is equals to 2. So we have 2 cubed divided by 3 minus 13, 2 squared divided by 2 plus 18, 2. You can leave the constant of integration because it will get subtracted. So we have that. Then you substitute t is equals to 1. So 2, 1 cubed minus 13, 1 squared divided by 2 plus 18, 2, like that. So very fast, use a calculator, and when you use a calculator, you'll get this one as 16 over 3, and then the other one this will give 26 plus 36. Subtract, this will be 2/3 minus 13 over 2 plus, I substituted, this is supposed to be 1. This one is supposed to be 1 here. So 18. So this will be 18. Like that. So working out again, this will give the whole of this 16 over 3, subtract 26 plus 36. That gives 46 divided by 3. 2/3 subtract 13 over 2 plus 18. That will give 73 divided by 6. And this one will give 3 and sixth. So note that. So the next one now is we now integrate, we add these, we add from 2 to 3 now, from 2 to 3. So we shall have 2 t cubed divided by 3 minus 13 t squared divided by 2 plus 18 t plus c. Now this one is from 2 to 3. So we work out these. So we start by substituting 3. So we have 3 cubed divided by 3 minus 13 3 squared divided by 2 plus 18 3, and leave the constant of integration, and then we substitute 2. So we have 2 thirds 2 cubed minus 13 over 2 squared plus 18 2, like that. So now you can use your calculator, simplify these. So this one will give 3 cubed divided by 3, that will give 18. Then 13 times 9 divided by 2, that will give 117 divided by 2. Then this will give 54, like that. Then subtract. Now we already worked out these. Notice we substituted 2 here. You can check that we substituted, it was there, and the solution was here. We don't need to repeat these. We substituted 2 there. Solution was 46 over 3. So subtract 46 over 3. So this gives 18 subtract 117 over 2 plus 54. That will give 27 over 2. The whole of that will give 27 over 2. Subtract 46 over 3. And when you subtract these, you will get negative 11 over 6. So now you have the 2. Remember, you're supposed to add, to take these plus these. But for this one, you can see we have a negative. Now this is the instance where I told you that sometimes when you get the negative area, this is like a negative area. This means the area, there's a part of this graph, if you were to draw it, that falls below the x-axis or the negative side of the axis. So because this is distance, you shall ignore the negative and pick the positive. That is 11 divided by 6, because this is distance. So when you're getting the area now, when you're getting the total area of the distance, it is the same, is the area under the curve. So total distance between 1 and 2 shall take 3 and 1 over 6 plus 11 over 6. And these will give 5 meters. So that will be the distance. And that is how you're supposed to solve that question.